Thank you so much for tuning in. Today we're going to talk about two approaches to happiness and how actually either one of these approaches are guaranteed to give you happiness. However, you have to follow the approach. Okay, so the Gemara, the oral tradition, teaches us of two individuals who exemplify happiness. We have the famous story of Rabbi Akiva, famous sage during the second temple era. Baal Shem is Baal Tshuva, became Baal Tshuva at 40 years old. And he's a famous phrase that said, everything that God does is for the good. And then we have the story of Nachum Ish Gamzu, who said that this also is for the good. So we're going to learn these two approaches. And understand the difference between them and the secrets hidden within them to give us clarity, direction, excitement, and at the end of the day, true, consistent happiness. So I want to first start with the story of Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva was once traveling to a town, as he often would, and on the way, it was getting dark, and he was basically looking for a place to stay. And he had with him a candle, a rooster, and a little bit of money, and also a donkey to carry all his stuff. So he went from door to door, and no one would let him stay. Everywhere he asked, no one let him stay. And then he had no choice, so he went into a forest, and he found a place. But there, his donkey got eaten up, his rooster got eaten up, and the little candle that he had burnt out, so he literally had nothing. So seemingly, he's in a very difficult situation. There's a place, he had no food, lost his donkey, lost his animal, lost everything he had, and now he's in like a little forest, and he's not sure what to do. So he says, everything is for the good. And long story short, he goes to sleep. And when he wakes up in the morning, he discovers that there was actually a Roman legion that came to the town, destroyed the town, and killed everyone there, took everyone and everything. And he realized that God blessed him tremendously, because God took away his donkey and took away his rooster and took away his candle. So the Roman legions, they couldn't find him. He was hidden somewhere in a forest. So from here, we should learn the famous story from Rabbi Akiva of everything that happens for the good. In other words, whatever situation we're in, we don't always see the full reality of it right away. Sometimes we need to be a little patient, and through that patience, over time, we see revealed miracles. However, Rabbi Akiva's approach, everything for the good, is characterized by the idea that the negative is part of the positive, but he very much acknowledges that there is negative and there's pain, and it's part of the process. So that's one story. Then we have the story of Nachum Ish Gamzu. Nachum Ish Gamzu was a very famous individual. In fact, he was called Nachum Ish Gamzu because he would say Gamzu L'Toiva, meaning this also is for the good. And this approach was very distinguished and different from everyone else, including Rabbi Akiva, in that by him, this too was for the good. Everything was for the good, no matter what. In other words, there wasn't really negative from his perspective. From him, everything was positive. And how do we know this? So we learn from the famous story where there was a decree against the Jewish people, which is pretty common. And Nachum Ish Gamzu was challenged or was asked to go appease the king. And so what typically back in the day, what you would do is you would bring a treasure chest of jewelry or of expensive things as a gift offering to appease the king and ask him, please, not to leave us alone. So as Nachum Ish Gamzu was going to the king, on the way he had to stop at an inn. And at the inn, the individuals at the inn noticed that he had a chest with him, and they figured there was probably jewelry or something special in that chest. So in the middle of the night, when Nachum Ish Gamzu was sleeping, these individuals came, and they took the chest, and they replaced the jewelry with sand. Now, Nachum Ish Gamzu woke up early the next morning, went to the king, and before the advisor is ready to appease the king, opens up the chest. And what do they see? Sand. So the king is shocked, infuriated. What is this Jew doing? What kind of insult is this? Throw him into the dungeon. So they throw him into the dungeon. And one of the advisors of the king, actually disguised as Eliyahu Hanavi, comes to the king and says, one second. The Jewish people are not such simple people. Maybe this rabbi has something different, and maybe this is special sand, similar to the sand from Abraham Avinu. Why don't you give him a try? Why don't you give the sand a try? Actually, it was appropriate time that the emperor was at war, and he was really willing to experiment. So they took the sand, and they threw the sand in the air, and miraculously, the sand turned into arrows and spears, and to everyone's dismay, it totally annihilated the enemy, and everyone was blown away, and the king celebrated a tremendous, tremendous victory. Of course, quickly afterwards, the emperor quickly called to his advisor, said, Nachum Ish Gamzu, get him out of the dungeon, bring him out of here, celebrate him, give him jewels, give him everything, thank him tremendously, not only for the special miracles that he did, but for giving us this continued blessing of the special sand. And from then on, the emperor was successful, and Nachum Ish Gamzu made a big Kiddush Hashem, and he became even wealthier. So you learn from these two stories, there's two approaches. There's the perspective of Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva says, everything is for the good. Nachum Ish Gamzu says, this also is for the good. So what are the key differences? Rabbi Akiva accepted suffering and saw it as part of the process. That was a choice. Nachum Ish Gamzu made a different choice. He didn't see anything negative. In fact, he believed so much in Hashem that whatever happened, he saw the good in it. He saw that this was also for the good. He believed with complete certainty and faith. And as a result of that, that's what manifested. And that's the secret sauce to happiness. The secret sauce to happiness is to believe that God loves you and cares about you, and almost to have expectations from God that He will deliver for you, and that you're guaranteed success, and that every individual is guaranteed success. And when we do it with simcha, with joy, with either of these two approaches, that either everything is for the good or this too is for the good, meaning whatever you're going through, if you want to see it as negative, it's okay, and eventually it's going to be positive, that's one approach, and that's a fantastic approach. you'll certainly be happy because you're focused on the end result and you're already in your mind there. And therefore, as it says, Mida Keneged Mida, and Panim Apanim, Hashem blesses you, as it says, we say 3 times a day, you open your hand and satisfy the desire of every individual. And as the Baal Shem Tov teaches us, you are where your thoughts are. So what you pray for, what you ask for is what God gives you eventually. But if you take the approach of Nachman's Gamzu, so he was already there. He didn't have to wait. He was already celebrating victory, celebrating joy. Even though he was temporarily in the dungeon, the reality is that was also part of the miraculous process, and that was also a big miracle for him. So he didn't see any negative. He only saw the positive. So, L'chaim, I want to take away the key message from today is that happiness is possible for everyone. Happiness is a mindset. Happiness is something we work on every single day. We train ourselves. And utilizing these 2 approaches, the Torah promises and guarantees us absolute happiness, absolute success, and we should know that we're guaranteed success in everything we do.